Yeah, so I pressed record now because I liked what you said about wanting to connect a bit more before I pressed record.
That's a good start. Yeah, I mean, no matter what I do, I feel like it's so important to both be connected to myself and to the people that I create with. So I just wanted to name that and give space to that.
Mm. And I, yeah, I'm actually, well, I noticed that just by pressing record, I actually start posing a little bit already.
Mm.
There's some kind of like going into sort of a circling leader mode that is interesting. That is like, okay, now I have to be present in a particular way uh, that I kind of find enjoyable. Um, and then it's also interesting because there's like a difference, and I don't quite understand what that difference is, but it is there somehow. Um, and there's a little bit of sort of penetrative power in it. That was what I was noticing now. But there's this like, oh, but what is your sense of the connection, or like is something missing since you want to connect in some particular way?
Yeah, I get really happy by your curiosity, both in looking at yourself and in the meeting with me. Like when speaking like this and connecting like this, it's so much in my body that wants to happen, you know? Like, oh, I cross my legs.
Hmm.
Oh, my back changes how I sit. Where does my eyes go? It's like so much that is happening with my body that I can't really just express with words. Uh, and I feel like that's a very big aspect of like my the idea that I came with, that like, oh, I want to do this with you, Peter. Uh, is really to bring in the body and the expression into like a circling space. Yeah, it's actually something that brought to mind. Like maybe the first, it was quite early when I started circling, and I got really frustrated. I got really triggered by people uh, talking about their experience. And I was sitting there and I was like fucking shaking because I wanted to move, but no one else was moving, you know? So I didn't know that was allowed in the practice of circling.
Hmm.
And I could really see how that just like in the classroom, in many other aspects of my life, uh, where I couldn't, where I wasn't allowed to move, or that was not the norm. And mm, yeah, I feel like maybe that was the first like inkling, the first taste of like there is something that I am missing in the way that I do circling. Mm.
I like
And then
the
I had this, yeah.
I just like the way you said it there. I imagine it looked different back then. That like now you said there's something missing in the way that I want to do circling, which is a little bit for me the same to say, oh, there's something missing in my self-leadership or the way that I show up in life or something like that, which for me is the gift of the practice.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
but,
exactly.
but then I imagine that when you had that experience the first time, it was more like, no, this practice sucks. There's something missing in the practice. Uh,
It was mostly these people, so
yeah, yeah.
more about the people than the practice.
Hmm,
I was really like, yeah, just like, oh, everyone here is so mental.
hmm.
It's like that was, I think, the gist of my projection that I was going into.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's quite a big thing for me these days. The it came up very strongly this weekend. The just a picture of how I am afraid of inviting myself into the world fully.
Mm,
And then I've been practicing this stuff for like so many years now, and I still find myself sort of blaming my surroundings for being in a particular way that feels unpleasant for me. Uh,
mm,
and then when I look deeper into it, it's like, oh yeah, but I haven't actually dared to show up with this person that I find annoying in some way and let them know that there's something in their company that's really stressful for me, or that like it came up as this like, oh, I've known this person for many years and I never really fully understand what's going on when we're together, and it's a bit disorienting for me. And I go into some kind of subtle dismissal. Um, and then it's like, why am I not actually bringing that up with them? Like, why don't I just say it and sort of meet them in it? Because they're very likely also having an experience that something is off, because something is off, and we do, I think, actually feel each other deeply all the time. So it's like we both know in some way, but both of us are scared of bringing it because we don't know what that would lead to. Um, and and that just seems to be such a big part of life, this sort of not daring to fully step into life, not daring to fully invite myself in. Um, yeah, well, that came up right now.
mm. When you say this, I'm reminded of a quote that I really, really love, which is it takes two to tango.
Mm,
And for me, this just really brings in that uh, if I feel something, the other person might not feel the same thing, but there is always some kind of connection in this big web of relationships that we have to people, things. I notice it can't really be avoided.
mm.
Mm.
It's funny
I get curious. Yeah.
just the tango metaphor. It's like from my was some years ago, since I danced tango.
Yeah.
But from what I remember, there was this quote about like the leader senses the follower and
Mm.
leads from there, and then the follower follows. But it's actually not a fixed binary, as in I lead and you follow. It's like, no, I respond to you, and then I lead, and then you respond to my leadership, and then I respond to that again. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so it does take two, and there's something with the willingness to show up that's very significant for me.
Oh, yeah.
The like,
I think,
I'm having an experience here with
yeah.
someone, and there's a choice of like, am I holding that experience or am I bringing that experience in service of deeper connection? And very often I find myself holding.
Mm.
And I also find that most other people are holding most of the time. And then it's like, I guess the path that I'm on is like, okay, maybe I should stop blaming other people for holding and instead work on my own holding. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, I guess all of that came up from your story about being in a circle and being frustrated with not no one moving.
Yeah, I think you're onto something, and like it's so cool how it's connected. When you say this about leading and following, I'm I am reminded of like in my theater practice that I will be bringing to this workshop. It's like, okay, so how can I lead and follow if I notice that there's a little fly in the room? You know, it's like, oh, how can I relate to this? How can I move with this? Uh, and that can be a fly, that can be a house plant that is hanging out. or it can be a person that I am circling with. And so I feel like this aspect of theater that I want to bring is not so much about like adding on a certain role or being a character. It's about like, oh, look, here's a relationship, here's a connection, and here I am leading and following. And like, okay, how can we bring that to the surface, I guess?
Hmm.
It's hard to do circling with a plant if you're the only one talking, almost. Like, yeah, that would be like I get curious, like how would you do circling with an animal, for example? How would you do circling with a dog? I feel like that is something that the workshop that we're bringing in, I feel like that could answer those questions or be one answer to that kind of question.
I haven't actually tried circling with a dog, but I have been quite deeply touched thinking about dogs while circling.
Yeah.
Like there's something with, I think I've told you before that I have this thing with cats and sort of the cat dharma or the quality of cat that I use a lot when I lead. It's very much about the self-leadership and the boundaries and stuff. But the dog quality is such a different one, and it's this uninhibited, unconditional love. Like they just do that so well. Like that kind of just absolute consistent love expression is, yeah, just find that very touching with dogs and with their energy. And yes, I imagine that would be a big part of circling a dog, would be to there's something with, well, I don't know. I grew up with dogs, so maybe it's easier for me. But there's some way in which I can receive love from dogs more than I can with love from people. And I think it might be some kind of sense of the unconditionality in it, that they actually just want to love me and be with me. And there's no complexity, no sort of reciprocity. You have to do something back. It's just like, no, I love you. 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 And yeah. And what I have done is circling with trees, which I find quite lovely. Have had, yeah, experimented with sort of just including trees in circles, but also trying to have circles led by trees. And we kind of left over the leadership of the circle to a tree, and yeah, just tried to be in that. Not quite beautiful experiences actually. There is something with you probably know this practice or have a similar version of it, but like being with another entity, and for me, it works best with trees, and then really going into sort of the listening deeply to it, like really, well, you can observe it, really see the details, really seeing the uniqueness of the being that's in front of me. So it stops being category tree and becomes like a unique being in the world for me. And then really staying with that. And then after 5-10 minutes, then flipping it and sort of letting the tree circle me. So seeing if I can really open myself to being observed by or listened to by the tree.
Yeah, yeah. And does that have a call, or like how does that look like? You know? Do you speak to the tree? Is it just what you're thinking, what you're feeling? Is it on the inside or on the outside or on both?
For
Like
me,
when you did that?
it has, the times I've done this, it has mostly been an internal move, but it's like being with a tree can be moving around, touching, climbing it, sitting under it, whatever. But then this switch is a very internal move, like moving from being quite out of myself and sort of in this observing mode or listening mode. And then moving into this, can I just open myself to being seen? I often call it a yin yang practice. So it's like I start from the sort of active listening, and then I move into this, can I just show myself as I am? And turns out the trees are pretty good listeners, actually. So in some way, it's quite easy to be in this openness compared to with a tree compared to being with most humans.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I can really see how, like, yeah, I don't feel a lot of pressure to be someone else with animals and plants as much as I do with other humans.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah, they don't mind so much.
And yeah, they don't mind. They don't put any pressure on you. At the same time, I'm like, I think I connected somehow with what you say about leadership. Like, I feel like for me, it's so much easier to be the one that's leading or the one who takes initiative when I am with a tree or with an animal compared to human. Like it's so easy for me to go into this, yeah, holding quality. So I get really curious how I can bring more of this leadership in, mm, and a leadership that is partially the initiative to dare to take new steps that are not already established, uh, and also, hmm, yeah, just also steps that are coming from listening. Like you say, this internal change. Like, okay, how can I listen to this tree? And yeah, I just get curious. Like, how much can I really listen to? What is it that's actually going on in a room,
Mm-hmm.
in a space? Sometimes when I do these circlings, I can see like uh, I mean it's a construction, but I can see a web. It's like, okay, this person I have this trigger with, and this person I feel connected to and want to speak more to. And mm, it's like I have these thin threads. I don't know how it is for you. I get curious, but yeah, I can just see like a web developing in any circling situation.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just start weaving them out like, okay, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
In that I'm like, okay, how can I bring this even more to the forefront of my experience? uh, for me it has been a lot about, like, when I circle, I'm very direct. I'm like, here something is, uh, but I'm curious about bringing it in indirectly as well.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. Like how can I express it in another way than naming it? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I guess it's not necessarily indirectly, uh,
Yeah,
just a
it is though.
different form of communication. And I think
Mhm.
there's also quite a difference for me between playing in the field of knowing and the field of not knowing. And of course, they're always connected. There's never a full knowing, but it's like sometimes I'm in a situation where it's like, oh, I seem to sort of know what's going on, and I can add a frame or a map that supports people or myself in being in the situation in a new way. But then often I also find myself in, like, when you talk about your web, it's like I can see that as like, oh, I know that I am a bit triggered by this person, and I know that I'm a bit attracted over here, and I know that we're friends. Like that's one way of holding it, and there's
Mhm.
truth to that. But there's also the backside of it, which would be like, I don't actually know what's going on here. I have these sensations come up, and it seems to be connected to this person over there because it's different with this person over there. There's like these things arising. Um, so, so what is actually happening? And being in that kind of mystery experience. And I think that's often where there's a really big contribution from the more creative arts like theater, for example,
Yeah.
in the circling practice, because there's these traditions are just familiar with the unknown in a different way,
Mm.
or can be, at least the forms of theater that I enjoy the most. Um, so there's something with like, how can we sensitize ourselves to what is there in the room without having to know, let it come into us and then embody it in some way, and then trust that whatever sense that it's supposed to make will come out of it, but I'm just part of the play. I'm not doing the whole thing. We are doing a thing. So I can't know and I can't have the answers. And yeah, that's often where things start getting really cool and sort of mystical, profound. That it's like we're all just, not just, but we're all dropping into a sense of trust of the experience that is happening in us and through us.
But this is so sweet, Peter.
Mhm.
It's like during this conversation, I notice how I'm thinking a few times, like, shit, are we making sense? Like, will people understand what we're talking about? And is this coherent enough? And then I hear you and I hear me, and it's like together we're building something that I just feel point exactly towards the things that I want to explore in this workshop.
Hmm.
So I just get really touched by that. I feel it's really sweet how it's all coming together. Whether people understand that or not, I'm just like, fuck yeah.
Hmm.
Mm, yeah,
Well,
this thing you talk about, it just resonates so much with me.
hmm.
I
Do
can
you
really
want to
see
try?
how, huh?
Do you want to try to pin down sort of, well, in more direct terms, what it is that you really want?
Uh, it's I think a very big part of it is to step into the unknown, you know, and how to do that together and letting uh, hmm. What comes to me is like the difference between circling for self-development and circling for the art of it. Circling for the experience of aliveness, for being alive. It's like, okay, when maybe I can see myself like, okay, I have done circling a lot, and now I feel confident that I can take space, for example, and confident in my self-leadership. And as soon as you have this structure inside of you, you are no longer in the unknown. And so that's like I feel like I want to come back to. And yeah, the words that you put on it earlier with like how can we continuously trust the unknown that we're stepping into together, and that from that, uh, I mean, from that life will happen. I don't want to say that art will be created because I don't feel like that is what we're here to do. I'm not interested in creating art, uh, but okay, it is the right what we can create is the right ground, the right soil for us to be touched by life. I feel like that is a big part of it. How can I be touched by life?
Hmm.
You know, when you go see a play or a musical or a music performance and it touches you, it's like I'd love to be part of creating a space where we can be touched. And then we see maybe it happens, maybe it don't. But if it's a strong container for that's what interests me.
Mm.
That
Yeah,
has a lot to do with being in the unknown, being in the body,
mm.
and being open to the moment, to creativity, to leading, to following, to moving, and to listen.
Yeah, something that's really well, it came up very strongly for me yesterday, and it seems related to what you're speaking into, is the sense of like my own anxiety and fear about being in the unknown, sort of out of control. But it's like when it sort of dawns on me, which it is again these days, that it's like I'm actually not in control of my future. I think
Mm.
I am, and I want to be, and I kind of construct sort of a future world that I believe in somehow. And
Mm.
yeah, and then again yesterday I landed in this but like there's so much that I don't know anything about and that I'm so incompetent in, and like some of the problems I've met in my life that I have been completely unable to solve, even with my amazingly high relational capacity and fantastic depth of a presence and so on and so forth. It's like I'm just completely, completely incapable of dealing with very mundane sort of things in my life sometimes. And yeah, and when I dropped into that fear and anxiety, it's like it's pretty scary in there. It's also very beautiful. Like it's like when I really land in the depths of that, it's like yeah, there's this beauty of life experience that where I feel very small. Like am humbled. It's like I don't know what's going on here. It's like I'm not in control of what's going on. But there's a here-ness to it. It's like I am here. And isn't that wild? Like I'm here and I don't know how any of this actually works, but it does, and I'm living in it. And yeah, there's some kind of sort of devotional, magnificent quality in there that I really appreciate and want to play with more. Um, or I want to live my life more from that place. And
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it seems for me that I'm not quite good enough at really allowing my not knowing or my uh,
I don't know anything about not good enough.
yeah,
Who's to say?
yeah.
But this is definitely something that we can work on,
Mm.
that we can grow in. And
Yeah.
yeah, like this devotional quality that you speak of, uh, for me, it's like when you said that, the image of like a vase comes up for me, and just how it has to be empty for, I guess, spirit or devotion or the moment, whatever you want to call it. Like for it to be filled with that, it has to be empty first.
Mm.
Uh, and I feel like my cup, my vessel, is at its emptiest when I am in the unknown and when I am curious. Just those two qualities, perhaps. It's like, okay, the anxiety of the world is happening, uh, and I don't know what's going on, and I don't know how to deal with this situation in my life.
Mm.
If I can just have a little bit of creativity or a little bit of curiosity, uh, that can make all the difference.
Mm. Yeah.
I remember.
Just getting curious about the experience of anxiety is usually key. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that supports a lot.
So it's not like I have to go somewhere else and be curious and creative. It's more
Mm.
like the
No, no.
quality of curiosity in the moment.
Yeah. I mean, I don't, you haven't been in Stockholm for that long, but I just know a relationship that I've had that is really that had been really challenging for me is like uh, the blue dressed ticket controllers on the subway.
Mm.
Because there's just something about them coming and they're checking to see if you have a ticket, and it's this authority figure, but they all seem really dead in their eyes and tired, and there's just something about it. And I had this unconscious relationship with them where I was just like, these motherfuckers. And then one day, one of them has on their little belt thing, they have a little cute pink water bottle in metal. And that time I was open, present, curious enough to notice that. And when this ticket controller came to me, I said like, "Oh, wow, what a nice bottle you have." And this person, like, they start shining like the sun.
Mm.
And I feel, I feel something in me really melt. And like, oh wow, this relationship that I hadn't even known about, creating so much tension in me when I go on the subway, which I did really often. That really shifted
Mm.
just from me being a little bit curious and daring to express that what my curiosity brought me.
Mm. Yeah.
Yeah, stuff like this.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like that there's something with the potential layers of how we can bring ourselves. And yeah, like you could in that situation, if you had been more sort of in a circling mode, you could have gone into like, should I reveal that I'm actually frustrated with these people, but I want to have a better relationship, and like, should I take that up with them somehow? And that can sort of strand us in this, like, it's way too complex, and why would I even do that with someone I don't know? And yeah, there's a whole line of thought there. And then there's
Mm.
something sweet in the simplicity of like, so what is the relationship here? And like, what, yeah, as you say, like, how am I impacted? And then finding an
Mm.
expression that is quite simple. That's just like, oh, I like your water bottle. And sort of there's, I don't know, there's something very sweet for me in the simplicity of that. That does seem to express
Mm.
something significant in a relationship.
Mm. This points to me. Simplicity also seems to be a thing here for me. When you say this, I'm like, oh yeah, I want to bring simplicity in. And maybe that I also connect with the words. Like when I sit in a circling session and suddenly it can get really complex really quick. And it's because of the words I feel. It's like, oh shit, this relationship, we know each other, and I feel this, like I want to blah, blah, blah. But then if it's, yeah, maybe like, oh, I want to be closer. And at the same time, I feel a lot of pride and I want you to approach me. Uh, that's an example.
Mm.
Uh, and now I get shy because I don't feel like that is my relationship to you. But it felt awkward to name it as an example of something that is not here. Either way, how if I could embody that, if I could place myself in the room or show in my body, then it can't become that complicated and it can't be that confusing for my being, you know? Uh, just like how a cat or a dog would do it, how they would place themselves in relationship, and the rest will unfold.
Mm.
Mhm. For me, this is really like I get images of when I've been in family constellations, you just place people in the room and suddenly it's all visible.
Mm.
And like I really would like to circle from that place where where a lot of simplicity can be gained just from how we stand, how we move, to really bring that into, yeah, that's a big part of the theater that I've been doing so far. Is like, be aware, are you in the center of the room, center of the stage, or are you standing in the corner?
Mm.
What happens when you stand in the corner? What happens when you stand in the middle?
Mm.
And just be curious, like how these movements appear from that.
Yeah, for sure. Um, yeah, that sounds lovely. It's like I love when that is present in circles. It's like sometimes we can, I think we can tend to get a bit stuck in the idea that we have to sit in a circle. Uh, and like,
It's in the name.
yeah, as if that's the core of what we're doing, is that we have to stay seated and be really sort of concentrated present on what's happening. And not that that can't be lovely at times, but there's definitely a great quality to bodies being allowed to move in the space with what feels right for them. And yeah, a lot of really cool stuff can happen when bodies are allowed more in. And I'm not actually sure if it is more simple, but it's definitely a different form of communication that can happen, that is more available for some people than for others. I think for some people it's way, way, way more scary than trying to name what's going on. But that depends on who we are, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah, yeah, but that's a good point. I mean, this is a sense, like what, a sense organ or a muscle that we can grow in, that we can practice with.
Yeah.
It's an instrument, a way of listening.
Mhm.
Wow, I get really, I feel like for me, I feel like we hit all the points of like, oh shit, this is what I want to do, and this is what I'm curious about to research in a workshop like this.
Yeah, I like it. It feels, yeah, I got some nice pictures of movement and touch, and I don't know, some kind of continuous flow experience that feels pleasurable. Mm. Mm. Well, maybe we should stop recording around here.
Yeah, yeah, I feel it's perfect.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, looking forward to seeing it in action.
Yeah, me too, dude.
Mhm.
Thank you for this.
Mhm.